Before Zeus, before the Olympians, before a god was even a title, there was nothing, just a humming dark. Then, without warning, Earth stirred, blinked awake, and named herself Gaia. She rose like a body from sleep, soil crusting along her ankles, rivers threading through her veins, mountains pushing up across her shoulders. She was whole, alive, yet crushingly alone. Loneliness is a sharp thing, even for a goddess. Gaia pressed her hands into her own body, sculpted a dome of shimmering ether, filled it with wind and light, and called it Uranus the sky. He was half atmosphere, half arm candy, her own creation, but also her companion. Mother and son hovered near each other, pulled by a strange gravity that blurred the line between nurture and desire. One look, one breath, an attraction crackled across the void. She pulled, he pressed, and together they locked so tightly that even light couldn't slip between them. That embrace became the first union, sweaty and eternal, and from it, the universe wrote its opening lines in starlight and grit. No slow courting, no hesitation. Gaia and Uranus skipped directly to mass production. Out tumbled the first generation, 12 towering beings called the Titans. Oceanus, master of the endless waters. Cus, who sought the axis of knowledge. Crius, aligned with constellations. Hyperion, who blazed like the sun. Iapetus, tied to mortality and craft. And then their sisters. Theia, radiant. Rhea, destined to be mother of gods. Themis, embodiment of divine law. Mnemosyne, memory itself. Phoebe, moonlight's grandmother. Tethys, the wet nurse of seas. And last, little Cronus, who clutched grudges like other infants clutched rattles. Gaia swelled again. This time, her womb labored out 3 cyclopes, beings with a single eye blazing in their foreheads like miniature suns. Uranus recoiled. These children were too raw, too strange, their gaze too piercing. But Gaia, proud of all her offspring, offered them openly. Then came the Hecatonchires, monstrous and magnificent, each with 50 heads and 100 arms. If the Titans were architects, these were wrecking balls given flesh. Gaia loved them all. Uranus, however, only saw threats. Fear is a poor lover. Uranus's paranoia grew with each new birth. Every child, he believed, was another rival. So he shoved the ugliest ones back inside their mother. Imagine it. Cyclopes, shrieking, crammed into caverns of living earth. Hecatonchires, thrashing, chained in Gaia's hollows. The weight pressed on her ribs, mountains split, valleys tore. She begged Uranus to stop, to show mercy. But he laughed. Love turned to tyranny. Gaia's body, once cradle, became prison. Pain, however, is fertile. Gaia bent close to her buried children and whispered a plan. From her spine she pulled a fang of flint, honed it against her own bones until it gleamed sharp. She handed the sickle to Cronus, her youngest Titan. "Next time your father comes to me," she rumbled, "make him pay." Night fell. Uranus descended, glittering with starlight, unknowing. Cronus waited in the dark. One strike of the sickle, and the sky was undone, stripped of its power. Blood sprayed, drenching Gaia's soil. Where it fell, strange life erupted. The Erinyes, furies of vengeance, the giants, mighty and wild, and ash nymphs, haunting the trees. From the severed flesh itself, Aphrodite would later rise, born from sea foam. Uranus howled and fled upward, banished forever from Gaia's embrace. The marriage was over. The divorce etched itself into the shape of the cosmos. Earth below, sky above, never to meet again. Cronus took the crown. The Titans ruled, and for a moment, Gaia breathed easier. But stability never lasts. Cronus remembered the prophecy that a son would one day overthrow him, just as he had overthrown his father. Paranoia, it seemed, ran in the family. So when his children were born, he swallowed them whole. One by one, Rhea's infants disappeared into his belly. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon. Gaia, watching, sighed with grim recognition. Once again, her grandchildren were trapped inside a living prison. Once again, the pattern repeated. But Gaia never stopped plotting. This time, she guided Rhea. When her youngest, Zeus, was born, Rhea wrapped a stone in swaddling cloth and handed it to Cronus. The Titan swallowed it without question, thinking his paranoia satisfied. Zeus, meanwhile, grew up in secret. When he came of age, he returned, split his father's stomach, and freed his siblings. Together, they rose against the Titans in a war that shook the heavens, the Titanomachy. For 10 years, gods and Titans clashed. Mountains hurled like stones, rivers boiled, storms split the sky. When the dust settled, Zeus and his siblings stood victorious. The Titans were chained in Tartarus, buried deep in Gaia's own body. But victory tasted bitter. Once again, Gaia had seen her children chained, her grandson swallowed, the soil torn apart by war. She tried to strike back. From her depths, she birthed Typhon, a monstrous storm serpent whose 100 heads spewed fire. Typhon towered over mountains, his wings spread across continents. For a moment, it seemed Gaia's vengeance might succeed. But Zeus met him with thunderbolts, and after a cataclysmic battle, Typhon was crushed beneath Mount Etna. Gaia, defeated, finally withdrew from politics. Yet she never disappeared. Every quake, every eruption, every sprout pushing through rock is Gaia's heartbeat, her leftover fury. The earth itself remembers. The blood of Uranus soaked so deep into her soil that it became the seed of countless creatures, nymphs, monsters, spirits. We walk across the scar tissue of that first family war. And when you look up, you see Uranus still there, stretched across the sky, forever distant from the ground that birthed him. The story of Gaia is messy, brutal, almost uncomfortable. She birthed her husband, married him, armed her son to mutilate him, then watched that son repeat the same sins. She is mother, wife, jailer, and avenger all at once. And yet she is also the source of life itself. To the Greeks, every flower, every harvest, every earthquake was her body speaking. Farmers prayed to her before planting. Mothers swore by her during childbirth. She was both cradle and grave. And there's a strange lesson buried in her myths. Love, when warped by fear, curdles into control. Control, when pushed too far, cracks into vengeance. Uranus tried to cage his children. Cronus tried to cage his. Each act of paranoia birthed rebellion. Gaia, too, tried to steer fate, only to watch it spiral beyond her grasp. Perhaps that's the moral. No one, not even the earth herself, can chain the future forever. So the next time dirt lodges under your fingernails or wind rattles the windows, remember Gaia. Remember the goddess who sculpted the sky, married him, buried her children, and still gave the world enough love to keep spinning. The ground we walk on, the air we breathe, the storms that shake us, they are all echoes of the first family feud. From her pain came the seas, the stars, and every stubborn sprout that claws its way through stone. Proof that even after the ugliest breakup in the cosmos, Earth keeps turning, scarred but unbroken. And maybe, just maybe, when you look up at the sky stretched endlessly above you, you'll feel the distance not as emptiness, but as memory. The reminder of a marriage that shattered, a wound that remade the world, and a mother who never stopped creating, even after her heart cracked.